must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us today, the 3rd of November 2020, and the show is Good Morning Africa. The station is Punchline Africa TV, and we're coming to you from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. A beautiful morning indeed, and thank you so much for finding time to be with us. My name is Miriam Oguto. I'll just start. And yes, we have a panelist, then the rest shall join us as we continue with the show. And we have Sean Wesonga joining us from Nairobi this morning. Sean, good morning. All right, he's working on his signal. Once he's able to join us, then he will be on board, and the rest of the panelists. So, of course, today we have a lot to talk about, a lot of political activities going on in the country, meaning every morning we have plenty to look at over what has been happening for the last 24 hours. And to help us do that, usually we look at the three leading newspapers here in the country: the Star newspaper, the Standard newspaper, and also the Daily Nation newspaper there. Sean Wesonga, Daniel, good morning. All right, so as we wait for that, we go to the statistics in line with COVID-19 this morning in the country. The confirmed cases in Kenya stands at 56,601. The death toll is 1,027. Recoveries is 37,442. And Uganda, the confirmed cases is 12,971. The death toll is 114. And recoveries is 7,556. And the total figures of confirmed cases in Africa this morning is 1,628 cases, 111, and the number of, not 1 million, sorry. The total cases in Africa this morning is 1,628,000 cases, 111, and the number of deaths in the continent is 46,205. Recoveries stands at 1,372,050 cases, and the global figures have surpassed 47.3 million. The deaths have surpassed 1.2 million, and the recoveries have surpassed 34 million. Daniel Wesonga, good morning. Okay, so we stand our attention to the Star newspaper this morning, and the leading front pages there says ICC panic in Ruto camp as lawyer surrenders. DP was not acquitted, and the judges agreed case could be revived with new evidence. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Let's just look at that because we know this is also something that is quite of interest to the public here, because we know, our President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto had to fight the accusations that have been leveled against them in the wake of after the post-election violence in Kenya 2007-2008, and so they were acquitted, but it appears that the case has been open-ended. So let's just read that. And on page 4 of the Star newspaper, disquiet has gripped Deputy President William Ruto's political axis following a surprise surrender of a Kenyan lawyer wanted by the International Criminal Court for witness tampering. Paul Gisheru, a highly connected advocate and current chairman of the Export Processing Zone Authority, was slapped with an international arrest warrant in 2015 for alleged witness interference in the Ruto case. However, in a surprise twist on Monday, the ICC announced that Gisheru had surrendered to Dutch authorities in the Netherlands in what could pose a new headache to Deputy President. Today, 2nd of November 2020, Mr. Paul Gicheru surrendered to the authorities of the Netherlands pursuant to an arrest warrant issued by Pre-Trial Chamber 2 of the International Criminal Court, the ICC announced in a press release yesterday. This will be something. Now, it was not immediately clear whether Gicheru surrendered or he was arrested while on a foreign trip. And of course, Gicheru had aggressively fought his extradition to The Hague in the Kenyan courts in February 2018, and Judge Luka Kimaru quashed the warrant. So that is it. And just on the side here, I see the Star has a bit of some. 3 Kenyans wanted by ICC. They have outlined these 3 Kenyans for alleged witness interference. And the first one is Walter Baraza, and the arrest warrant was issued on August 2nd, 2013, and then warrant unsealed on October 2nd, 2013. His case is still in the pre-trial stage, case pending the suspect's arrest or voluntary appearance before the court. ICC does not try individuals in their absence. And also the first wanted, this Walter Baraza, he's been charged by 3 counts of offences against the administration of justice by corruptly influencing or attempting to corruptly influence 3 ICC witnesses regarding Kenyan cases. All right, so that is the first one. The second one is now Paul Gicheru, and warrant of arrest was issued on March 10th, 2015, and sealed on September 10th, 2015, surrendered at the ICC on November 2nd, that was yesterday, and court submitted a cooperation request to the Dutch authorities for the arrest and surrender, and he's being charged with offences against the administration of justice consisting in corruptly influencing witnesses of the court. And the third person that is being pursued by the ICC in regards to the Kenyan case is Philip Bett, and warrant of arrest was issued on March 10th, 2015, and sealed on September 10th, 2015, and not in ICC custody. He's not in the ICC custody, and he is being charged with offences against the administration of justice consisting in corruptly influencing witnesses of the court. So they seems to be having the same charges, Paul Gicheru and Philip Bett. And also Walter Baraza's charges seems to be a little bit, he has 3 counts. These 2 has only 2 counts. He has 3 counts of offences against the administration of justice by corruptly influencing or attempting to corruptly influence 3 ICC witnesses regarding also, I think the same, but 3 of them. So that is something that I'm sure Kenyans, are looking forward to see how this story will pan out. And it's just the other day that the ICC, 2 weeks ago, that the ICC responded some allegation that was being made or leveled with some politicians in the country that the ICC was still pursuing DP Root, and the case was active, and the ICC chief prosecutor Fatou Bensouda came out and said not yet, but they said not yet. So if not yet, that means there could be a time where they'll find a need, or maybe because some politicians allied to the DP, William Ruto, had said ICC had sent some investigators here in the country quietly, and they've been gathering some information, but ICC now had to respond to that and refuted the cases. But they're saying it's still open. Anybody who has any evidence or who thinks they have information that is important in line with this Kenyan case, then they can take it to the ICC. So it's an open-ended thing. And so beside their PV, post-election violence victims will one day get justice. That is a commentary that was done by Wilfred Derrito. So we will not get into that. So let's just wait and see how this will play out. And the ghost of ICC has refused to leave this country. So that is quite something there. So that is on the front pages of the Star newspaper. I see that Daniel Wesonga is with us. Daniel, good morning. All right, so he hasn't joined yet, so we will just continue with the show then as we wait for the rest of the panelists to join. And DP was not acquitted, and the judges agreed case could be revived with new evidence. So that is it. So DP was not acquitted, and that's it. And so up there, a betting giant SportsPesa rocked by boardroom wars. That is the story on page 2. You can look that out if you're interested to know what's happening there in the gambling world here in Kenya. So now there's, in the betting giant SportsPesa, there seems to be some disagreement there with the management. I don't know the owners. I have no idea. But the story is on page 2 of the Star newspapers. And then down there, Uhuru Raila strike referendum deal, DP meets Kamba elite. And the story is on page 6 of the Star newspaper. So let's just look at to see what President and his handshake brother, as people now refer to them, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, what were they up to yesterday? Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta Monday dashed hopes for a review of the BBI report by unveiling a referendum roadmap and locking out his deputy William Ruto's input. Uhuru met about 300 pro-Building Bridges Initiative MPs and described Ruto as a traitor. He also unveiled a packed timeline that will culminate in a referendum by June 2021. Uhuru and his handshake partner Raila Odinga are expected to name a referendum coordinating team to spearhead the push to amend the constitution. The team's first job will be to collect 1 million signatures by December 2nd. And Uhuru's move to seal the BBI document appears to set stage for a showdown with the DP, and politicians are critical for the report billed as the magic potion to the country's ills. On Monday, Uhuru told the lawmakers backing the report at a meeting in Naivasha that the BBI train must set off without delay. So President Uhuru Kenyatta and his team here seems to be saying, this train has already or is already leaving the station. There's no way. There's no way we are going to stop and allow for any more of views to come in. And we know the Vice President, DP, the Deputy President there, William Ruto, has been very adamant. And now he's been asking for a wider consultation and for other people to be allowed to bring their views in line with the BBI so that, according to him, we can create a consensus referendum. That is what the Deputy President wants, and a few of the people that are allied to him. And also President Uhuru Kenyatta and a few leaders during the launch of the BBI last week on Monday, alluded to the fact that, a non-contested referendum, if possible, could be better in uniting Kenyans, and a contested one might just act in dividing Kenyans more. And that seems to be the tag, a few words that DP Ruto picked from that launch. Forget the speech that he made, almost rubbishing the whole BBI and just poking holes all over. But that is what he picked. And he says, the president said that this BBI should be all-inclusive, and so they should be open to more ideas and more people bringing their opinions. Anybody who's trying to refuse that, then these people are selfish. And this has been very confusing, especially for deputy presidents. His supporters, who very well understand that deputy president has not been for the BBI, has not been for the handshake, and he has been openly campaigning against it, and he's been saying BBI is not really a priority in Kenya right now, as the other things that are supposed to be given the prominence that they require and the urgency that they require, and that will be to solve the issue around unemployment, around the youth, and other things that he feels are quite important and urgent for Kenyans. And he's always maintained that BBI is not really a priority. So now he's made a turnaround, a whole 180 degrees, and he's saying, you know what? Okay, so I'm here. This BBI, what I need now for you to do is put this and this and this together. So it's been quite confusing. Are you in support of BBI process? We have to start from there. If yes, okay, so you have a problem with a few things that you want fixed there. All right, but people from the other side are arguing, the ones in support of BBI, that there was enough time for DP to give his views during even the second review, when the team was carrying out its second gathering of opinion, for Kenyans, because the first one was unveiled on November last year, and then a lot of certain things were not fully captured on the first report, so they had to go back to Kenyans again, and anybody who had views was welcome, so that they could sort of capture the things they felt were important according to what Kenyans really wanted. And so there was a window for anybody to go and submit their views there, but the DP still did not find it important to do so when he had the time. And all this time he has been castigating the BBI process, so he's not been keen to really support this. So for him to come out now and say, so now I am here, whether you like it or not, and you're going to listen to what I want, I'm going to give you my views. And because the way he's been expressing, this is a process that should be inclusive. So this is a process that some people should not be using to, to create, to have political mileage and all that. And so everybody should be included. And this process has been there for 2 years now, Deputy President. Are you being honest when now you're coming out and now you want to be part of, a process that you have not been particularly supportive of? You've not been a believer of the BBI process. So for you now to come out and now you're coming with preconditions and you're insisting your views must be included there, or else you had a whole 2 years to do. I think that is quite confusing, even for our DP supporters, because if you don't believe in the process, why do you think even your ideas there would matter? Because if you don't believe in the whole process, then that's it. That's it. But if you believe in the process and you believe the few things that you'd want to be amended, then come outright and say, you know what, I'm in support of a BBI, and perhaps our country requires some constitutional review as it is right now. But there are a few things there, like he said there during the Bomas launch, that I have a problem with, and this and this and this is what I would like to see changed. But you cannot castigate the process on one hand, and then on the other hand you're insisting your views have to be there and you have to be included. It's a bit confusing, even for anybody who is supporting you, Deputy President William Ruto. So first you have to say, are you in support of the BBI process? If yes, okay. And then you come out and say, and this is what I have a problem with. You cannot just rubbish the whole thing and then at the same time you want. That is quite oxymoronic, and it's just quite confusing. And now joined by Daniel Matsanga. Daniel, good morning. Okay, we have a problem there with your audio, so if you can work on that. We can't fully hear you. And then you can... all right, so they're working on that, and then you can come in and give us your opinion from. So according to the meeting that happened yesterday, this train has left the station. It's like when you get into a plane, when you once the door is closed, nobody, even if you're standing there on the runway and you have your boarding pass, it's not going to be open for you to come in. It's leaving. You can wait for the next plane. You cannot be allowed to come in. Daniel, good morning.
Yes, very, very good morning, Miriam Ogutu at our headquarters in Nairobi, and of course our viewers who are joining us this morning.
Mm-hmm. So
perhaps, maybe I could just go a little bit back and maybe give our viewers a view of those cases in The Hague. I was able to join, but perhaps I had a technical glitch from my end. And when you look at those cases, clearly from the ICC website, and they are all mentioned. When you look at Muhammad Ali, the charges were not confirmed. When you look at Uhuru Kenyatta, the charges were withdrawn, and Henry Kosgei, charges not confirmed, and also Francis Mugaura, the charges withdrawn. But when you look at William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang, the word there, the phrase used there is the charges vacated, which means that these particular cases could be revisited anytime the prosecution tends to have some sufficient evidence to be able to revive these cases and proceed on with the prosecuting them at the ICC. Mm-hmm. So that is what perhaps our viewers should get quite some elaboration in terms of those cases. Going forward to the deputy president, I think whatever the BBI team did is in line with what we are discussing yesterday in the morning together with Javan Karanja and yourself, that perhaps there should be no any particular time where the task force should revert back to the preliminary stages where people are allowed to submit their divergent views to the committee. Because as it is, if they will have allowed that, then it means that the entire document will have gone back to to be worked on from the scratch. And I think whatever decision they took was quite wise in all looks. And I think that is the way to go forward. And they gave out timelines, very clear timelines, on which the BBI now should take roots. And of course, we expect a referendum by April of 2021. that is the way that they should have done it, and that is what they did. So I believe they're on the right track, and at the end of the day, the BBI is going to see the light of the day.
Mm-hmm. So on Monday, President Uhuru told the lawmakers backing the report at a meeting in Naivasha that the BBI train must set off without delay. Uhuru said Ruto and his team are dishonest in their campaign against the BBI report, insisting that they were part and parcel of the process from inception. Missing during the 2-day retreat were Ruto and his troops, who have mounted a spirited campaign to have the report opened for revision of a contentious issue. And there it is. Even the president does not want another review, another reopening of looking at contentious issues. Instead, President Uhuru Kenyatta there is reported to have said that Ruto is quite dishonest.
Miriam, if you are able to watch or maybe perhaps see the pictures of the president in Naivasha yesterday, you could tell the kind of frustration the head of state is undergoing through trying to work with his deputy president. You know, for a very, very long time, I saw a President Uhuru Kenyatta who was so much fighting, not just as a president, but a politician, to really see these reforms that have been recommended in the BBI taking shape. And for me, that is something which is very unfortunate. The president and his deputy should be speaking in one accord, in one language of unifying Kenyans, bringing these good changes to the people of Kenya as something that will ensure that the country charts the path of prosperity together. So to me, I think President Uhuru Kenyatta has been abandoned by his president. And if there's a way we could work on the constitution, we have to make sure that in future days, we don't have a scenario where a rogue deputy president holds the president and the entire nation at hostage as it is right now in our new dispensation. I think it's something which is very divisive and it's very unfortunate, so to say, Miriam.
Mm-hmm. So Uhuru recounted during that meeting in Naivasha, the 2-day retreat. Uhuru is said to have recounted the events preceding his handshake with ODM boss and said that Ruto had nominated at least 3 members of the BBI task force. Now, President is quoted as saying, "The morning I was meeting the Prime Minister to shake hands, I met the DP." So President actually met the DP first. Of the 7 members of the task force, my people were 4 and Ruto brought 3. Now, at what point was Ruto feeling excluded? It is just Fitina, that is spite, Uhuru is said to have told the members of parliament there. So he's saying, I told you during all this process, I involved you. And you know, President Uhuru Kenyatta said this to his face last Monday when they were launching the second BBI draft. And you saw the deputy president laugh it off, and he walked from his seat and went, and I don't know what he told the president, but they laughed it off there. But the president told him to his face, and I've not seen a DP Ruto coming out and saying, no, the president was wrong. And the president, is now insisting, I told you. So he was told, he is aware, because he's not come out and said the president is lying. So we will take the president's word here.
Yes, Miriam, the deputy president, for those who don't know him, I bet I'll call them for strangers, the only strangers in Jerusalem, is that the deputy president has perfected the art of deceit and double speak in essence. And when you look even at the way he was speaking the other day in Nyeri, he came and told the residents of Nyeri that, look, we in the Jubilee government, we have been able to construct this kind of road. We are already working on this other road with the President Uhuru Kenyatta, and all these projects we have been able to achieve in working together with the president. And therefore, I want you people to look at and benchmark our progress report and be able to use it as a litmus for giving me the mantle of leadership come 2022. But remember, also this is the same deputy president who has gone in some other parts of the country like in Nyamira and Kisii and other parts of the country are really downplaying the progress of Jubilee government of President Uhuru Kenyatta and trying as much as possible to disassociate himself from the leadership of the day. So it tells you that this is one man who can say something very different here and move to the next podium and say a totally different thing from what he said in the previous podium. So to me, I think the deputy president is being dishonest. And the fact that you mentioned whatever happened in Bomas of Kenya, of course, majority of Kenyans were watching the live proceedings from the Bomas of Kenya. And he was held to account by the president himself and said that he was part of the process from the inception, and he contributed to it by nominating some of the people who started the BBI task force. So which means that he was a major stakeholder in the entire BBI process. Now, the point of departure is where now himself, he boycotted going to submit his recommendation to the BBI task force. And it begs for the question that is the DP genuine about talking about issues affecting Kenyans? Because if he was very genuine, if he cared about the same hustler that he speak about, he would have taken his time to go and submit views and recommendations that directly touch the lives of the millions of people that he tends to portray that he's advocating for. So that is my thought, Miriam, on that one.
All right, and after the 2 days retreat, we seem now to be having a clear roadmap on how this process will continue after the launch last Monday, because we were wondering, that launch after that speech by DP, I mean, the president did not even read his, official speech. And so we were left wondering, so what next? Because there was no clarity in which way forward. But we see here, let me just take us through that, because I think it's important for us to understand how this process will move moving forward. Now, the president, I'm still reading from page 6 of the Star newspaper, by the way, in case you're wondering. The president and Raila rolled out an 8-month referendum calendar. Kenyans are likely to vote in a referendum in June next year, with the team expected to prepare and submit the signatures and the bill to the IEBC between December 2nd and 9th. This will be followed by a 30-day period for the IEBC to to verify the signatures, not clarify. Clarify and verify is quite totally different. But what IEBC will be doing is verifying, okay? Now, the Wafula Chebukati-led team is expected to submit the bill to the county assemblies between January 11th and 18th. The assemblies will have 30 days running from January 19th to February 19th to approve or reject the bill. A minimum of 24 counties is required under the law to approve a bill for it to proceed. Already, the BBI report has dangled carrots to urge counties to pass the bill, with MCS set to benefit from a ward development fund. They would run just as MPs do for CDF, and governors will get an increment of county funds from 15% to at least 35% of the national revenue. So we see there a set of ways in how this process will continue moving forward. So we are told that we should be looking forward to a referendum sometimes in June, tentative date, June next year. So I think it's going to be a long, how many months to June next year? About 7. It's going to be a long 7 months, thereabout, and a lot of political activities. I don't know if DP Ruto will continue saying we want a consensus referendum, as it appears President and his allies. That's not something they're seeking to do, as President already there has said. DP Ruto is quite dishonest. And yesterday we talked about why DP Ruto perhaps is insisting on a consensus referendum, because when we have a consensus referendum, then he will not have to come out outright and oppose and stand on the no side. And, he'll still camouflage here and be covered under the blanket of consensus referendum, knowing very well he's not even in support of this process. And, he might not have to walk out of the government, because if now we go for a contested referendum and it is yes or no, then you cannot be on the gray area. You have to declare, you have to come out clear. And that, what do you think that will do to, do you think the DP will be, will be outright enough to take the no side? Because now it's still gray area, and consensus referendum, he can still hide in between there. But when it's outright, you're either on a yes team or on a no team. What do you think he will do?
Yes, thank you, Miriam. And of course, right now, as it is yesterday, with the release of that very elaborate schedule for the BBI report, I believe the battle lines have been drawn and the train has already left the station. So for those ones who thought that the BBI will not see the light of the day, the schedule is out there. And first of all, Miriam, I would like to reiterate that these are the same people. You remember when the debate for the BBI report started gathering some dust, they came and told us that the BBI will not see the light of the day. Today, we have a schedule out there which recommends a referendum to be undertaken before mid next year. They came again and told us that it was impossible for a referendum to be held owing to the fact that the time constraint that we have before the 2022 general election. Today, we are very certain as the sun will rise tomorrow that we are going to have a referendum in 2021. So to me, I believe that the best thing, like we are right now, is to surge on as it is and just let William Ruto and his cronies to be on the opposing side of the referendum. And the president and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, of course, have really marshaled forces. We saw in Naivasha yesterday from Sunday that a very, very good number of legislators and senators showed up to discuss the document. And in fact, not everyone showed up because the leader of majority in the parliament, Amos Munya, said that perhaps there was a constraint in terms of accommodation. But what my point here, Miriam, is that we already have people who have shown that they are for the BBI report, and we also have people who have shown that they are against the BBI report. And the deputy president at no particular time should be allowed the chance to struggle in between the fence. So to me, I think it's only fair that we have a referendum and we allow people their democratic right whether to oppose or to support the BBI report. And therefore, we shall be exploring the core of our democracy by allowing such proximities.
Thank you so much. And we're also joined by Jevan Karanja all the way from Nanyuki. Jevan, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. I joined and I was listening to your discussion.
All right, go ahead. Nice to have you. What have you been listening and what is your opinion on what is happening there? President yesterday came out and during the 2-day retreat in Naivasha, he said, no, the deputy president was part and parcel of this process. If anything, we needed 7 people from our side. I brought in 4, he brought in 3. And so he's dishonest by him now coming out and giving all these preconditions and the things that he wants changed in the BBI. President said he is dishonest, and also the president said that he did not use the word dishonest, but the president said the same during the launch of the BBI. He said you were there, and DP Ruto has not come out to challenge what the president has said and what the president reiterated during this 2-day retreat. So we can go with the president's word because the DP has not said he was not informed. So now he's coming out and he wants all these things, and yet we had about 2 months we had about 2 years for people to give their views and all that. So the president said, you're being very dishonest. What do you make of that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I agree that the president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, is a very good president because in 2013, he came on and he brought William Ruto to Mount Kenya region. They campaigned and they won the election after having what we went through in 2007. And in his own prudent understanding, he came on in 2017. They shook hands in 2018 with the former prime minister, and that is when BBI was born. And he said this is a process to heal this country so that after every election or before an election, we'll not have this kind of turning up and down, people running for their lives and property being destroyed. And he came up with the BBI committee that was to go and collect those 9 recommendations that was the guiding principles, so that they can get to understand what is it that has been in Kenyans, and that is what exactly they did. And William Ruto and his team, they were in the front line of saying that this process is not a good process. They started fighting it and all those manner of things. And for the 2 years, they did not represent their recommendations even to the steering committee for validation during the validation process. Therefore, these are people who have been fighting this process since day one. Therefore, it is hypocritical when they come out at this juncture to say that they want to be invited in Naivasha, they want their views to be heard. That is to mean that they were not part of the process, but now they have realized that this process is a tsunami that will not be stopped. That is why they are thinking, if this tsunami will leave us outside, then we have nowhere to run into. That is why they are coming with the consensus thing. Because at the end of the day, if William Ruto, when we go for a referendum, it's either black or white. There's no gray area. And if William Ruto will be found to be on the opposite side of the government, then we will have to go a very tough time as we head to the general election, because I think he might even be impeached. Therefore, I think in his own knowledge, that is why he thinks that a consensus will favor him, but not the country. And moving forward, Miriam, yesterday, they came up with a very clear roadmap on how this will be achieved. After going for the county assemblies, and they passed 24 counties, passed that bill, then we'll have to go for a referendum. And that is quite clear that now we have a clear roadmap on where we are heading to. Therefore, anybody who thought that this was just a joke, I remember some few months ago, the Tanga wing was even making a joke saying that this BBI has stayed for long, it might come out stale. And that is exactly what they were saying. But when it came out, they were shocked that even the president was quite in support of it. And Miriam, when William Ruto and the president is telling us clearly, crystal clear, that he invited him even to bring the members of the committee. He told him about the BBI. Therefore, William Ruto is a man who has been consumed by his own. Is a victim of his own doings. I think he's a victim of over ambitions, and I think that is why he feels like now he has ruined everything. Because when we were building bridges, he was busy destroying his bridges with the president. He was busy destroying his bridges with the former prime minister. And in 2013, he destroyed his bridges with the former vice president Kalonzo Musyoka. Therefore, William Ruto is known of destroying bridges with his politicians. Therefore, I think this is time he is realizing the mistakes that he has been doing, and now more to that, he wants to create to break another bridge that unites Kenya, and now he is bringing another consuming fire called the Hustler narrative that will come and consume those who have versus those who don't have. Therefore, let Kenyans be open. Let's read the document, and let's support this document, because it is bringing good things. Miriam, you will see the kind of development that will come to our wards when these MCAs will get that money, the kind of money that is coming to our counties. That is the development that we want. We don't want to be here being sabotaged by one individual. Let the country move on. Let the president go on without fear, and this thing will be materialized at the end of the day.
And it's interesting there. Of course, you've mentioned, yes, proposed in the BBI will be the increase of money to the counties from 15% to 35%. That is a very substantial amount of money from the national budget that will be given to the counties there. And I'm just hoping that we'll have a better oversight when it comes to the monies and how they'll be spent. I think we have to work on that as a country, because reports that we've seen coming from the counties, even the money allocated to development is quite not so much. And so I'm just hoping that even in the process of taking more money to the counties, which is a good thing, and now we have to work on our oversight and our spending and make sure that the governors have their priorities right in terms of developing their counties there. And by Ruto's, I think, insisting on a consensus referendum of a process that he does not even believe in, as the president said there, that is quite dishonest. And also, I think, and I could be wrong, you can correct me, this is just a politics of self-preservation there. So we look at, of course, the roadmap there. So in the roadmap, Parliament will have between February 20th and April 5th to deliberate on the bill before it is taken to IEBC to prepare a referendum, which must be held by June 6th. Oh, they even have a tentative date there. So by June 6th next year. So that is what we are staring at. All right. So that is the Star newspaper, and I'm sure the rest just have almost similar stories there. So up there on the Standard newspaper, it says plan to recall more learners to school. Other students may be recalled to resume classes as early as next week as the government implements its phased reopening plan despite surging COVID-19 cases. I'm not sure how parents, especially of the younger children, if I had a child in the lower classes, I can assure you there's no way I would send them to school. a child in grade 1, 2, 3. So I don't know if all of them will be going back to school, but the story is on page 4 of the Standard newspaper here. So I'm not sure what parents are thinking right now, because COVID cases here in Kenya are at their peak, an all-time high right now. We're seeing very high numbers. Kenyans are not even scared, and now there are plans to continue reopening schools. Let's just talk about this very quickly, because it was on the front pages there of the Star newspaper. I didn't look at it, but I see it's here. So it's something also of importance to Kenyans. And also yesterday, CS Mutahi Kagwe, the CS of Health, really expressing his frustration. The CS is so frustrated. He does not know what to do with Kenyans. You could see the disgust on his face, like, what is wrong with you? Wear your mask. I was seeing him yesterday when he was giving the daily brief there. And, hospitals now are full. He's saying counties you're by your own. So make sure the best that you're supposed to have. This is the time that you'll be using it. And now it is a concern in the health sector here in the country. Quickly, what are your thoughts, Daniel?
Yes, owing to the fact that the high numbers of the positive cases that we are recording in the country, even not only here in Nairobi, but also in the upcountry counties like Kakamega, like Kisumu, like Uasin Gishu, I think it would have been noble for the Ministry of Health through the CS Magoha to only concentrate on those children who are already in school at the moment, those ones that had already opened, not add more students to the population that is already there in our schools. Because, Miriam, we understand that perhaps the students that were given priority were the candidates who are supposed to sit for the national examinations. Those are grade 4, class 8, and Form 4 students. And those, I believe, were the students that needed that kind of priority. But for the rest of the students, I understand that we are only left with perhaps a month before we can break for the festivities in the month of December. So I think it was not necessary. There was no need to have such a rush in bringing back children back to school, because for the students who are not candidates, I believe they can be able to wait as they prepare to get back to classes back in January. And of course, by then, I believe the numbers will have been gone down, considering that the new measures that perhaps the president will be able to bring in place in the coming few days when he addresses the nation. So to me, I think it was very unwise. It is very unwise a step to take, owing to the fact that even the lower primary children are not could not be even able to keep up with the measures that have been put there by the Ministry of Health, to wear masks, use sanitizers, keep social distancing, and all that. So I think January will be the most appropriate time to allow the rest of the students to join those ones who are in school right now.
Mm-hmm. All right, but Magoha is saying that schools could be the safest place for the children to be at. I think I saw that on the Star newspaper. Javid, quickly, what are your thoughts of a possible resuming of classes for all learners, maybe even as soon as next week?
And thank you, Miriam. And what the CS of Education should be telling us is, do they have the facilities to ensure that these students will not contract the disease from the schools? And I think that is not something they have achieved with the minimal resources that they have been given by the national government. Therefore, it is quite unfair. And Miriam, we are left wondering, and why did they close school in the first place? If now they want to resume the school when the numbers are on rise, why did they close school when we had 30 cases, 100 cases in the whole country? Mm-hmm. Therefore, it is quite
all right. We seem to be having a problem with Javan's signal there. Once it's clear, then he can come back. Karanja, can you hear me? Okay, so as we wait for Karanja to do that, I've seen like a small supplement here on the Standard newspaper on something that the president will be doing today, and it says fulfilling. It's a small supplement. It's this very small piece down here on the Standard newspaper, and it says, fulfilling the promise, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta today will issue over 10,000 title deeds to Samburu Group ranches, Milimani Residential Area and Maralal Municipality Area. The ranches include Losuk, Suguta, Marmar, Malaso, Logoret. Is it Logorate? I don't know. Loiting and Lolmolok. Yes, it has to be Logorate. There's no way it can be Logorate. I mean, no. And then the other one is preserving our heritage, title deed for Masai Mara National Reserve, which is 48,152 acres to be issued to Narok County government. That will also happen today. And also reclaiming and safeguarding our environment, title deeds for 155 acres of City Park and 2,000 acres for expansion of the National Park will be issued to the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury. That is today. And also, President Uhuru Kenyatta seems to be very busy today. Enhancing service delivery. His Excellency, the President, will flag off 75 vehicles for all registries across the country to support national titling program. So President Uhuru Kenyatta will be a busy man today. And so the front pages there of the Standard newspaper, BBI door slams shut. I think we've looked at this. All systems go, led by Uhuru and Raila. MP say no to further changes in report. Team rolls out 224-day implementation plan to culminate in a referendum by June. Collection of 1 million signatures to start. Ruto allies locked out of Naivasha retreat, cry foul. Plan talks to chart way forward. So let's look at the collection of 1 million signatures to start. So Nairobi alone can give that, don't you think, Daniel?
Yes, considering the kind of forces that are coming together to propagate the BBI agenda, that is the legislators and the politicians who are rallying behind President Uhuru Kenyatta, and also the NASA allied politicians. You understand that yesterday we saw there our Fula Mnyinyi, who is also the party leader of Ford Kenya. We saw there some other members, even who are previously allied to the deputy president, like Honorable Kosing, who is from West Pokot. So I believe with such a huge number of people who are behind the process, I believe collecting the signatures, 1 million signatures, will only be a walk in the park for them, so that immediately we are done, they shall be able to submit it to the IBC for verification, and soon after that, the process of towards having a referendum will be offset, and perhaps at the end of the day, we shall be able things will be able to go as per the preset timelines there by the BBI task force.
Mm-hmm. Karaja, can you hear us now? Okay, we seems to still be having a bit of a signal problem there, but once Karanja can fix his signal, he shall be back with us. So I see that the ICC story still is on the front pages of the Daily Nation. So this is something of a national interest, because we know what happened, what culminated to where we are today, and so that's why I think it's also on the front pages here of the Daily Nation, and that is the main headline. And it says, "Here comes ICC trouble for DP Ruto." When a lawyer, Bensouda, accuses of corrupting witnesses to withdraw from testifying in one of the Kenya cases, presented himself to Dutch authorities and asked to surrender to The Hague, which has a warrant out for him. It raised all manner of possibilities, some of them nightmarish. First, it might mean exactly nothing by him presenting itself. So the first scenario, according to the Daily Nation, it might mean nothing. He has nothing to trade and and he's merely putting his affairs in order. So he's just respecting, cooperating with the court and honoring the warrant of arrest, and then it could be nothing. Maybe they will not find anything, on him. Or secondly, it may be that he has come to a deal and turn on his 12 friends, principal among them the DP. So he's decided, you know what, I will not be carrying this cross by myself. I might as well just turn myself in, and whatever may happen. I don't know. Do you think this is something that is giving Deputy President William Ruto some sleepless night, on top of everything else that is bothering him?
Yeah, yes, Miriam. I think it's a very, very big issue, considering that we are also headed for the 2022 general election. Then Deputy President has something to worry about, because we understand in his case specifically, we had a lot of issues with the witness, some of the witnesses, like the Yebei disappearing, and perhaps it is so much perceived that perhaps some of these witnesses were eliminated, and of course, according to the ICC, some of the people who are closely involved in these witnesses interference, the lawyers the one who submitted, who surrendered to the ICC. And I believe now, with the case being under the title of case vacated, it means that perhaps this is a case that was not closed, and it could, if they get sufficient evidence to revive it, then it's going to take root, and the Deputy President will again be required to appear before the International Criminal Court. But mostly, I wish that Dr. Matsanga was here with us today. Unfortunately, due to circumstances, he would have given us quite a very comprehensive foray on what that means to the ICC cases, because you remember he was quite directly involved in all those 6 cases that were facing the 6 Kenyans who were charged, who were brought before the court for the 2007, 2008 post-election violence. But my opinion, as I understand it, is that perhaps it should be something that brings some worry to the Deputy President, owing to the fact that this is someone who was perceived to have been responsible for bungling up of the cases between him and Joshua Arap Sang. So to me, it's something that really should be sending shivers among escorters around the Deputy President and the Deputy President himself.
Mm-hmm. So that story is on page 7 of the Daily Nation, that says in the DP, just somewhere down there or in the middle, it says in the DP Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang case, the court found that there was interference of witnesses. What will need to be determined now is the extent to which that interference was. If a case against the DP is to be restarted, it will follow the same procedure. Witnesses will record statements on what happened in 2007, 2008 post-election violence and how they were enticed. Now, said the common legal representative of victims in the case against Mr. Ruto and Mr. Sang and Mr. Wilfred Nderitu in an interview yesterday. So he added that there is a possibility of the DP's case, which was vacated in 2016, as you have said there, Daniel, being started afresh with a new confirmation of charges, hearing if the evidence by the lawyer points to a culpability of any of the 2 accused. Yes, as you said, I think, a doctor is held up with some other things that he could not be with us today, but he will be. And you know what is really interesting? Doctor has been saying, be careful. This case is, something is happening. You know, he's been quite consistent.
Yes, the chicken have come home to roost.
He's been quite consistent.
Yes, and also owing to the fact that you saw the other day the Jubilee Vice Chair David Murathe saying that perhaps whatever William Ruto is doing is radicalizing the young people of Central Kenya, and it's going to spell a problem in the coming days heading to the election. And I remember at one point Dr. Matsanga was saying, like, if you have been to ICC accused of causing some ethnic tension and animosity between communities, and you are out there again driving a narrative, a very divisive narrative of hustler versus the dynasty politics. I think he has been warned quite severally on not advancing something that could give ICC raise eyebrows with the quarters at the ICC. And I think now with this lawyer turning himself up at the head, I believe now it should send a clear message to the handlers of the Deputy President that perhaps they should be on the watch out, that things are not.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, perhaps. Yes, they should be aware that things are not all rosy with the Hague-based court. So they should act up heading up to the 2022 general election, owing to the fact that their skeletons at the ICC are at the verge of being revived back, brought back to life by these occurrence.
All right, and the story concludes by saying yesterday, DP Ruto's Director of Communication, Emmanuel Talam, declined to link Mr. Gisheru's surrender to what he had said was a scheme to revive the case against the DP for selfish political gain. I have no idea if there's any relationship between the scheme to revive the Deputy President's case at the ICC and the surrender of Mr. Gisheru. He told the nation in a text message response, "I do not know how deep the scheme is. How do I know? It is the schemers who can tell the magnitude of the scheme." Now, last week, Mr. Talam told the nation in a separate interview that his boss was aware of a scheme, one the DP himself had addressed in a TV interview earlier this year, to revive the ICC cases against Kenya's second in command. So, as I said, this is a story that is of quite of interest to Kenyans, so we shall be following. And that marks the end of Good Morning Africa this morning. I don't know if Karanja have been able to join back. Okay, we lost Karanja there earlier due to some signal technicalities, but we shall be having him back on our next show. So thank you so much for watching. Daniel, thank you so much.
It has been a pleasure, and of course, we'll be joining our viewers here at 11.
Yes, indeed, we shall be back at 11. And as we did yesterday, we shall be looking at another part of the BBI. We told you, which is outside of the noise that we're hearing. You know, the political noise sometimes really, you can't understand what is really happening. So now we shall be doing some public service here, Daniel, so that people get to understand what is inside this abridged report, a shortened version of the BBI that was presented to President Uhuru Kenyatta and his handshake brother Raila Odinga last week. So we have a responsibility to give you the information, not as we think it or as what the politicians are saying, but as the team presented to the president. So that is what we shall continue to do here at 11, and we shall be looking at, I think, the next part, and that has to do with inclusivity. Very important, because that seems to be what BBI has been centered about, building a more united Kenya and making sure nobody is left behind, and we are all included in this one beautiful country called Kenya. And maybe after that, we don't have to be killing each other because we differ in our ways and how we think and how we vote, right? I hope to see a day where, you know, that will happen. So perhaps BBI can set us on a good track towards that. So thank you so much for watching. Let's meet here at 11 a.m. and continue reviewing what is inside the BBI. Bye-bye for now.